Hello, what is up? What's going on? I'm Kelly Ray. Welcome back to my Chanel. I hope everybody is doing okay. I hope you're having an absolutely fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whatever time it is when this video finally reaches you. I wish my hair would cooperate like the rest of my body, but that's okay. Just out the shower. And I really just wanted to go over something that's been heavy on my heart. It's been heavy on my mind, and I feel like I just need to talk about it. I need to get it out. As most of you know, I am a spiritual mutt. I am a very spiritual person. I'm an empath. I'm an introvert. I'm Kelly Ray. Nice to meet you. Hi. Let's see, I want to go over some stuff that happened at the job that I was just at. Unfortunately, the building just closed down, and now I kind of feel like I have a little more freedom to talk about it. I mean, I had the freedom to talk about it before, but now looking back, you know, hindsight is 2020, and I just feel like this story needs to be shared. So let's see. Okay, first of all, I'm not one of those type of people that really like takes my equipment and goes out. Like, everybody knows, like, I'm attracted to the paranormal. It's not that I'm like attracted to it. It's kind of just like attracted to me. Like it just is wherever I am. I just feel it. I sense it. I see it. I hear it. It is what it is. But I'm not the type of person that gets all of my gear together and just like goes provoking stuff and goes taunting stuff and just trying to get any kind of rise or any kind of footage, you know, just for the views or whatever. I'm not that type of person. But that being said, okay, let's start at the beginning. So I do work in the medical field, the medicine field. However, I had intentions on getting to this specific location, the specific building. For years, I tried transferring over to that location since 2017. So since 2017, I had been trying, I had reached out, hey, I'm trying to transfer, I'm trying to get to a location that's closer to my home, closer to, you know, everything, just a more logical location. And at the time, the manager was actually like, well, I don't have any hours, but I'll keep you in mind for the future. And I just kind of took that as like, okay. I even checked with other locations around the building or around the location around the area to see if anybody else had any, and nothing really popped up until November of 2019, which is my birth month. And I don't know if the rest of you guys are like this, but for me, when it's my birth month, like really starting like the fall time, I start getting very intuitive. I start getting very like just gut feelings will end up becoming true. Dreams come true constantly. I'll say something, it'll end up coming true. And like the closer that I get to my birthday, my birth month especially, it's just like I'm constantly having deja vu, like, because I can't tell, like, did I dream this and now it's coming true? Did I say this and now it's coming true? Am I reliving like something? So that always happens to me the month of my birth month, November. But I would say it starts in like September as well, which September is the, you know, Virgo sign. And if I were to say that there was a sign that's like, as Virgo rules intuition. So like Virgo is the king queens of intuition. And if I had to say, like, you know, there's like a sign that I resonate with most when it comes to like intuition, would definitely be Virgo. Anyways, so just like this year, like I had predicted that the store was going to be closing down, and I tried to tell everybody before the company even told us the truth, but it was just a really shady deal, and it is what it is. But so I started there in November of 2019, and it was so funny because, like I said, I had wanted to get to that particular location. I don't know what it was, but looking back, maybe this story is why. But I had wanted to get to this location, and I looked it up, and the building itself actually, like, if you look it up in the records, it says that it was built in 1985, but I think that's whenever it became the company that it is now. Because people who have worked there for years have told me that it was actually a building before that. These are just all the back stock room and the back area where I was working and the break area, and all that was added on. It was already a building. So we'll say that it was built at least in the 70s, maybe the 60s. I don't know. I love to, you know, find out the history of any places I've been that have had any activity. So I was just doing my job at my regular location, and I wasn't really even thinking about it. I had kind of just like let it go, and just like, you know, the universe does when you want something so bad. I mean, I had scripted, I'm getting out of this location, I'm getting closer to home. Hundreds and hundreds of times I had written down this particular location, not knowing anything about the location, not knowing anything about the people that work there. I just wanted to work there. I knew that it was going to be closer to my house, and I knew that it was a high traffic area, especially during the daytime. So I knew, like, job security. I really wanted to get to that location. My manager at the time was like, no, we're not going to go through with your, like, she would not let me transfer. Like, she even got my district manager involved. And they were basically like, we're not going to go through with your transfer. Matter of fact, we're going to write you up. And to this day, I still don't really know what I got wrote up for, other than it felt like two girls that didn't really know me, but they didn't really like me, and they kind of just took me in the back room and bullied me, and I started crying, and so I just tried to forget about stuff like that. But it was just really unprofessional. So a couple of weeks goes by, and the location that I was trying to get at, it's not funny, but I have colleagues, you know, on here that can vouch for everything I say. So, at the time, when I was trying to transfer in, but I had just like given it up, whatever, that location that I was trying to get to, the manager, her whole shift, pretty much her whole shift, her whole crew had just quit on her within a week. So she's texting me like, are you still available? Are you still wanting to transfer? Like I will do anything. I need some help. My whole team has just like up and left on me. They've all quit all at the same time. And I was like, absolutely. Like, the gates have opened. This is my shot. Yes. So I started slowly working shifts with her. And I mean, it took months of her just calling, like, can you please release Kelly so she can come work for me? Can you please release her so she can come work for me? And that other manager would not do it. Can you imagine being somebody like that? That's that much of a, I don't even know what that chick's problem was. But anyways, even though the odds were all against me, I ended up finally transferring. And I was so happy. And like, even the courier guy that came, you know, to pick up or deliver, you know, he would see me and he would always be like, you look so, you know, vibrant over here. You look so much happier, so much like stress just relieved off of you. And I was just like, yeah, like I feel great. When I started, I had a really light it was a light energy, not a quarter of the amount of people, the chaos. There was just like a heavy feeling at my old location that was finally shed. And I was in a new location with these new people, and there was a couple of them that, you know, didn't know me, and they still had things to say about me, but you can't do anything about that. You just can't. So I went in every day as my true authentic self, and I did what I could, and I started really getting along with the manager. We're really good friends to this day. I got along very well with the other coworker that I had. I actually caught myself constantly coming to her defense if any customers would just get an attitude with her, get fussy with her, or whatever. I would catch myself cutting them off and you know, kind of helping her. So I would say, like, within the first week or so, like, I'm totally used to the job, but it's just a different layout. It's the exact same job, just different ways that the aisles are stocked. Okay, so you have like 1, 2, 3, 4, like 4 or 5 aisles full of items that I have to grab every day. Then you have this shelf off to the side. This is my workstation. These shelves off to the side where I have to constantly grab stuff off of, and then right next to it is a drive-through window. But we never used that drive-through window, especially when COVID broke out. Not only was the window constantly locked and we used the phone in the drawer to help our customers, but it had 2 wooden boards on each side of the window, so even if it was unlocked, you couldn't pry it open. There's boards like keeping it shut. And so I would say maybe my second or third week there, I think my boss had stepped out to go to the bathroom or to make a phone call or something. And I was in there and I have my basket and I'm walking through the aisles to gather my things that I'm going to need for the day. And I'm on like the 3rd aisle over, maybe the 4th aisle over, when I hear this loud thump. And I'm like, boss? Like, I say her name. So I walk around and this huge item, this huge bottle had fallen off of the top shelf that it was on. I mean, it was like a very high shelf. So I was like, that's weird. So I walk over there and I grab it, and like, it's closed and everything, and I put it back on the shelf, and I'm like, you know, moving the shelf, like checking, like, is the shelf off? Do I need to fix it? Whatever. It was just weird, but I put it back and it was what it was. So some time goes on, and again, it's a very light energy. However, I know when I can feel a presence nowadays. After many years, my whole life now, I know when there's a presence, and now I'm way more in tune with what's going on. So I definitely picked it up very quickly. And you know, after that had happened a couple of times, even with other people, you know, being in the work area, which most of the time it was just me and my boss. I had my area and she had her area, and she stayed right there, and I ran all over the place, and she got everything done, making sure that everything I did was correct. That was her job. That was my job. But I would notice over and over again, items are falling off of shelves on aisles that I'm not even on. They're like 2 aisles over, and items keep falling off the shelves, and it just got to be a thing where I'm like, okay, 1 time, maybe 2 times, but this many times, like, I'm starting to pick up something's going on. So let's see, so much. So as time goes on, I just remember like the first few things happening, and I remember just kind of like, one of the front store workers was back there with us, and then my boss was back there with us, and I just remember like kind of like in a playful kind of way, being like, I swear this place is haunted. And both of them were like, yeah, we know. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, it's one thing if I'm experiencing something and I'm kind of like just making a joke of it or whatever, but the front store manager starts to tell me, yeah, there's been times I've been in the back, you know, in the stocking area, and I've been the only person like literally in the store, and, you know, boxes that have been precisely piled on top of each other, one, you know, and these are heavy boxes full of stuff that I've had to pack on top of each other, just one or two will just be sitting on the floor, like, you know, she had went up front to do something, and when she comes back to the back to close the store up or whatever, a box is on the floor. Another one was like a case of juice, I believe. She had set on a very high shelf, and it's a case of like the jugs of juice, very heavy items, and she had just stocked them, and then like she would get a customer, so she would have to run up front, and then she would run, you know, back to the back room, and that item that she had, that heavy item that she had just put up there, would be just like nicely set on the floor. Now, I never got any super negative feelings off of this, but I will say that there's the front store, and then there's the back store where I was working, and then in the middle is this stairway that leads up to like a break room off to one side, the lockers off to one side, and then this dark room that like nobody ever went in, which was just like another storage space. But I know that every single time I was ever up there, it was always pitch black, couldn't see anything inside, whatever. So, let's see, time goes on, and, you know, within the first, yeah, 2 or 3 weeks, items had been falling off of the shelf. Also, a thing that I really want to mention too is there was 2 lanes, like I said, that window for the drive-through, there was 2 lanes. However, everybody that shopped there and everybody that came there knew that we did not use lane 2. We only used lane 1. We only used the first lane. Because the tube to serve people in the second lane was constantly getting stuck. Another thing that I kind of, in hindsight, am thinking about too also is they were constantly, in just like the 1.5 years that I was there, they were constantly having to change the cameras. They had to change the drive-through. So about the drive-through, I'm sorry, I get ahead of myself, which is why. Anyways, drive-through, lane 2, we don't use. All the customers know, don't use it. It gets stuck. You know, we've had stuff get stuck in there. People's items get stuck in there. We don't use it. But it has a motion sensor and a light sensor. Like, you have to drive on it or have some hefty weight, bright lights, or push the button for these sensors to go off. And lane 2, you know, the farther one out, was constantly going off. Constantly. And nobody was ever there. I can maybe say it went off 100 times. And out of all of those times, maybe 2 people were ever there. Every other time, it was just the wind. Even though these are not wind-activated sensors. These are motion sensors and light sensors. And you have to be driving a vehicle or push our button to make these sensors go off. And so I thought that was kind of strange right off the bat too, because every other location I'd ever worked at, we always had a lane 2, but we didn't have, it wasn't constantly going off, and we didn't use those either. So that was just strange to me as well. And the fact that they had to change specifically the drive-through screen and camera I think 3 or 4 different times in just the small amount of time that I was there, right? It was just like super weird. And you know, they say, or well, we know, any kind of EMF, any kind of energy, any kind of stuff like that, any kind of, you know, just paranormal, anything, it will drain your battery like that. It will mess with your lights. It will mess with electricity. It will mess with, you know, whatever is around. And we were constantly having our cameras changed. The screen to the drive-throughs is just constantly messing up, and they were constantly trying to fix it, right? And so some time goes by, and I remember me and my boss, it was just the two of us again, and I had always felt this presence, and I could feel it when I would pull into the parking lot. And so I started parking near the bushes, and there are these big green bushes that put out the bright little red berries. And I always want to spend my lunch break like out in nature. That's just always how I prefer to spend my lunch break. And so I just remember, like, now I'm even feeling it even whenever I'm driving into the parking lot. And as I would walk through the building to get to the break area and to get to I always got the chills up in the break area by that dark room. I always got the chills up there, and it was always freezing. Freezing. That's something else that I, you know, I'm just now thinking about. That upstairs room, yes, it is by a back door, but it's upstairs. Heat travels upward, and there was a vent that blew down hot air, but that area was always at least 20 degrees colder than the entire rest of the building. It was colder than the back door area. It was always freezing up there, right? And I'm just like, man, this is so weird. Like, I know I'm not tripping, especially with other people telling me their encounters. I'm like, okay, there's definitely some stuff going on. So some time goes by, and we had just got a huge rush. It was like a midday rush. Drive-through was slammed, front counters slammed. I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off. My boss is running around. We're trying to get everybody taken care of. Everybody, you know, just out of there, and, you know, to have their stuff and taken care of. And I remember when everybody disappeared, we both just like, whew, like let out this sigh of relief. And as soon as like we let out this sigh of relief, the phone that is attached to the wall for the drive-through is screwed onto the wall, bolted onto the wall. The whole phone set is beside me, and it flies off and lands on the floor next to me. Not just the hand thing, like attached to, like the whole set that was bolted on the wall flew off and landed on the floor next to me. And I'm standing there, and I'm just like, this is it. This is how I'm gonna go. This is it. And my boss she sees it too, but she's more logical. Like, hurry up, how do we fix this? Hurry up, this place is falling apart. Let's hurry up and put this thing back together or whatever. And I'm just sitting there like, the whole thing just flew off the wall. Don't go over there. Like, what are you doing? But that was just another thing that and the whole rest of the time that I was there, we could never get it mounted back on the wall the way that it was, like, ever. Like, it was mounted on the wall, and it just flew off one day. It didn't just fall off. It flew to the side of me onto the floor. And I was just like, okay, like, this is getting to be too much. So I started getting, you know, really curious. So I brought two things. To work. And I wanted to investigate, like, if it's, you know, if it's causing this much, where, like, cameras are going out, screens are going out, motion sensors are being, you know, set off, things are falling off the shelves constantly. I told you guys in one of my previous videos about the bird, you know, sitting, if you haven't seen that video, I did my whole like 8-hour day, and right behind me is that shelf that's next to the drive-through window, and I have to go back and forth to that shelf all day long to grab items off of it that I need, or to put items back on it. And I also have to walk past it to pick up the phone to help drive through. So it's like right there behind me. Here's my workspace. Here's the shelf I'm talking about. It's right behind me. And I did my whole 8-hour day, and that particular day I could feel this presence again. But to be honest, I was actually thinking about my grandma all day long. And, you know, she stays, you know, near me, and I can feel her, and I was thinking about her all day long. And I went to grab the last item of the day. It was my last item that I had to pull, and then it was time for me to clock out and go home. I walked over to the shelf. I grabbed the last box that was left of this particular item off of the shelf when two eyes are looking back at me. And I gasped so loudly, I thought it was a mouse. But when I looked at it, it was a baby, or not a baby, it was just a small bird. And especially in Native American heritage, or, you know, most people know spirits will present themselves as birds. It's not just cardinals. It's not just, you know, something like that. I'm sorry, you guys. It was obvious, and it was obvious that it was right over my shoulder for 8 hours. I was grabbing stuff right by it. I was walking past and forth it. I was talking at it, talking around it, you know, and all this stuff. And it was just chilling all day long right beside me. And I'm getting like super close to it. Like, do you need some water? Are you hurt? What? Why are you just sitting here like this? This is so strange. And it was just letting me, check it out. But when everybody else saw that I had gasped about something, and they're thinking like it's a spider or a rat or something like that, they had started getting closer to it. And when everybody else noticed and started, they didn't even get within, you know, 5 foot of it, she flew off. And it was like she was just there for me. And she was there, it was presenting itself to me like, hey, here I am. Okay, you've seen me? Okay, well, now too many people are seeing me. Gotta go, bye. But it left me very emotional, very emotional. I remember sitting in my car, and I had my hands on the steering wheel, and I was shaking so bad I couldn't leave my job. But I mentioned that story in one of my other videos, but yeah, it got me really emotional. So like I said, I start getting really, curious. I started getting really curious, like, when was this place built? How old is this place? Like, you know, because people had told me, well, it was this before it was this company, and before that it was something else, and da-da-da. So, you know, I knew it was a fairly old building. We'll say at least 50, maybe 60 years old now. But, just a lot of funny, kind of strange things happening. So I took 2 things to work with me. I took one that's like an EMF radar that shows you if any EMF activity is going on, it will show you these little dots, and it's really like a radar. And it will show you these little dots. And I don't know if you guys remember my video that I talked about my grandmother's voice coming through. I had used that to like I pulled it out, I opened it up, and it showed 1 dot, right? And I closed that one down, I opened up the voice box, and that's whenever my grandmother's voice came through. Clear as day, through all the static, through all the clear as day, keeping you safe. So I knew, like, these are legit. So I took them to my job. And I would spend my lunch breaks literally like sitting out in the parking lot, creeping through the store, creeping through like upstairs. But even in the parking lot, I remember the first time I did it, I opened up like that radar thing, and there was like 3 different spots, one in front of me, one behind me, and one beside me. And I was just like, you know, because that could be anything, because it's in a very city like area. And I was like, I mean, that could be anything. So I shut it down and I turned on the voice box. And the first time I did it, I really just like let it sit there and play, and I just listened for anything to come through. Because when you start it up, it really starts, and it's kind of annoying because it's just this like mixed mumble jumble. So if you do get any clear words, or like, you know, my grandma's clear sentence come through, that is like mind blowing. And so I'm sitting there and, you know, I'm listening, and I can hear voices coming through, mainly a male voice, but I can also hear a woman, and then I can also hear a child. And whenever I hear a child, so I'm just sitting there listening, and this man, like a strong male voice is coming through, and it's just saying like random words. So I say, "What's your name?" And I hear Rob, and I'm like, "What?" And it's like, "Bob, Rob, Rob," and I'm just like, okay, you know, da 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 da. And I'm like, "Can you let the woman talk?" And she's trying to, and the whole time, but he's trying to like get his name out, but I can hear this woman, like a sad woman kind of sound in the background, in with it. And I'm like, "Can you let the woman talk?" But like minutes are going down. I know I gotta clock back in, and I know my lunch is about to be over. So I'm just like, okay, I can't, like, I gotta hurry up and, you know, get back inside. So I'm like, okay, bye. And I turn the thing off, and I go back inside, and I go upstairs to put my stuff in my locker. And by that dark room, I'm just like getting the chills, like getting the shivers. I walk back into my work area, and it's just my boss there. And I'm like, you know, I just really wonder if there was ever a Rob or Robert, Bob that worked here, maybe, or was a customer. And she's like, "Yeah, he was the manager years ago, Rob. He was the manager here. You don't know him? You didn't know him?" And I was like, no, but that voice definitely just like made an appearance. And so I was just like, oh my gosh, like, holy crap, I want to investigate more, like, you know. But like I said, you know, I don't go out just like provoking things and taunting things and doing anything I can just to get, you know, what the viewers will want. I was really just doing this because I was really truly interested. I even, you know, one day I even took a coworker up there with me, and I was like, look, like, it's showing like these dots that are specifically in the dark room. There was always a dot that showed up in the dark room, which is which is detecting EMF activity, you know, around that room or whatever. And I just always didn't want to go in that room. And she, you know, she was up there with me, and she's like, "Yeah, wow, that's cool, like, you know, da da da." She's a sweetheart. So and I was on a mission, so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do this again today on my lunch break. This had been like a couple days, and so I started up in the store, and like as I'm walking out to the parking lot, and it's just going crazy. And so I make my way outside. I'm like clear of anybody else's, you know, energy, clear of anybody else's voice that I'm hearing. I'm literally by myself with the voice box. And this time, again, I'm getting quite a few voices, and to be even outside of the building, I thought that was very strange, but who knows. So I'm hearing, more voices, but I'm still hearing this woman trying to come through. She's trying to say something. And so this time I'm like, I only want to talk to the woman. I just want to talk to the woman right now. And the thing got completely quiet. And I'm like, are you there? Like, I'm listening. Time's ticking. Minutes are going by. I know I'm about to have to go back from lunch. Da 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 da. And I get ready to turn the device off and just like head back in from lunch and finish out my day. And right as soon as I pick up the thing and I'm ready to push the power off thing, she goes, goodbye. And I was just like, no, it's okay. Like, for that, like, I was willing to be late from lunch. I was like, it's okay. I was like, what's your name? What's your name? And, I'm still, like, battling the static and the other, like, mumble jumble that's coming through. And clear as day, just like any other one that's came through, clear as day, she says, Zimmerman. The thing about that is, when customers come to my job to collect what they are getting, they present themselves last name first. Because again, I work in the medicine area, so when they come to pick up their stuff, they present themselves with their last name. So I thought it was just like extra jolting. I was expecting, a first name or whatever, just like the manager that had said Rob, I expected something. And so for her to say, Zimmerman, keep that in mind. So some time goes on, and I don't think I really told anybody about the Zimmerman thing. Like, I kind of kept it to myself for some time. Eventually, I think, a few weeks goes by, and as we're finding out that the store is closing, like, energies are high, all of us have bawled our eyes out, all of us are depressed, we're stressed, our jobs are on the line, what are we gonna do? Like, energies are just high. And intense, I'll put it that way. It was very intense for everybody that was there. And I'm doing, one of my last days there, and I'm doing one of my last days there, and I'm extremely busy, but it's almost time for me to go. So I'm looking at my computer screen. In my work spot, there's a whole counter in front of me, and then there's the front counter, like way in front, where people come, and that's what they stand behind to pick up their stuff. And so I'm sitting there, I'm standing there, and I'm looking at the computer screen, and I'm trying to hurry up and do what I'm doing on the computer screen, and I'm trying to hurry up and count and get done with what I'm doing, and I can hear footsteps coming towards the front counter. Now, we had just had a rush again. We had just had a rush of people, and this time, like, everybody got taken care of at once. There's nobody around. It's completely still and quiet again. And I can hear, and I'm looking down, counting as fast as I can, because I can hear footsteps coming towards the counter. And I look up, when I heard the footsteps, I'm like, hi, be right with you. And I look back at the computer screen, and I'm hurrying up, and I'm doing what I'm doing, and I look over, and I can see this woman. She's short, maybe 5 foot flat. She looked like she was wearing glasses. She had wavy, shoulder length hair, but she looked like, I don't know, like, her facial expression, she looked like she needed medicine really bad. Like, she looked sick and looked ill, like she needed her meds. So I'm trying to go, even faster, and so I see that she's in some kind of pain or some kind of like hurry, and she just needs her stuff, so I'm trying to go even faster. I look back down, I finish counting what I'm doing, I finished my computer job, and I go to walk around the baskets, and I get to the front counter, and there's nobody there. Nobody anywhere. I'm looking down every single aisle, looking around all the doors, because this isn't just like something falling off the shelf, or the phone flying off, or a bird chilling behind me all day. I saw a woman, a sick, sad looking woman, like standing at my counter like she just needed her meds. And like, I get emotional talking about it, because like, I truly think that there was like a connection between, y'all tell me what y'all think. To me, I personally think that there may have been a connection between the woman coming through and finally saying Zimmerman, and then me finally being able to see it. It's just like constantly feeling my grandma around me, and constantly feeling her support, and constantly, you know, little things are being moved around, little things are, you know, happening, and I know it's my grandma, but then I finally get her pictures, and being able to put a face to that energy is like, I know what I just saw. But I don't want to sound like crazy, and I don't want to add any more emotion or stress to anybody, because we're already going through so much. But so I take a while to calm myself down, and it's just me and my boss again, and I tell my boss, dude, I just saw a woman like standing at the counter, like hurting or in pain or sick, like she needed her meds really bad. And then whenever I went to help her, she wasn't there. And that's when my boss said, I saw her too. It's crazy. It was just so crazy. And maybe that's why I was so drawn to that location, and maybe that story just needed to be put out there, because when these things are put out there, these things can be put to rest. And it was just, I'm still, as you can see, I'm still just like in awe about all of it, from, you know, the last name first, and then actually seeing that woman and seeing, you know, she wasn't like every other customer. She was very small, and she looked distraught, like she just needed her medicine. You guys let me know what you think, but I just wanted to share another one of my kind of spooky stories, but more kind of emotional and, you know, gut-wrenching at the same time. Let me know what you guys think, and I will see you guys in my next video. I love each and every one of you. I hope you have a blessed day, and if you're interested in another pick-a-card, leave a comment. If you're interested in the next horror story, leave a comment. Give this video a like. Giving makes you a happier person. Peace.